You see dead people. I'm launching YouTube memberships for this channel tomorrow. Or soon, but be on the lookout for it. Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and next time on Deathbattle, we've got a classic match coming our way. Ichigo versus Yusuke Hakusho. And frankly, I am not surprised at all that this is the matchup that got revealed for Deathbattle's return. Ichigo was by far the most clear reveal that we got at the end of Ash versus Yugi. Frankly, I think saying reveals is a bit generous, but you know what I mean if you've seen the episode. So I thought that his episode was going to be the next one we were getting, and let's be real, Ichigo versus Yusuke was too big in the general matchmaking space for Deathbattle to not do eventually, at least in my opinion. So I am really excited to see how Deathbattle puts it all together. We know for a fact it's going to be a sprite battle based on the trailer they released, which just makes me feel so good, man. We don't get those that much anymore. And we also know that some episodes like Gru versus Megamind, Aang versus Traveler, Geats versus Nero, and Light versus Columbo are probably releasing this year. I assume they're supposed to release this year if everything goes according to plan, but overall we're gonna have a lot more surprises in 2026 compared to 2025, so I'm really looking forward to all of that. But back on topic, what do Ichigo and Yusuke have that compare really well to each other? Well, they both have exceptional smarts and combat skills, although Ichigo definitely has more formal training and knows more than just unarmed combat, and they possess a number of abilities that are more or less equivalent to each other, like some form of aerial maneuverability, spiritual energy projection, and extrasensory perception or awareness. And in that vein, given both of these characters' existence, I'm very confident in saying that they can both see each other and damage each other and all that. There shouldn't be any major awkward hurdles of that kind for either of them. But now we have to talk about their major differences, which mostly come from their stats and unique abilities. If we remember from Sasuke vs. Hiei, Yusuke, when clashing with Yomi, created an explosion which, if we go off of the value calculated by Deathbattle, was enough to destroy the Earth like 5 times over. Now, I know not everyone buys this level of power, but I could see Deathbattle sticking with it for this, especially given the in-universe statements claiming similar things, and if they do, then it would realistically come out to even higher, as Yusuke wasn't even in top condition when that happened. Not to mention the Mazoku form, even though that doesn't look to be a completely voluntary transformation. And for speed, Yusuke started out being quite a bit slower than Hiei, despite being able to dodge lightning himself, but as both of them made it to the upper S-class level, Hiei grew in speed, and Yusuke just started to match that, so by the end, he is definitely way beyond lightning timing. There are also a handful of energy attacks found throughout Yu Yu Hakusho, including Yusuke's own spirit gun, that could be argued to be light speed. If this is the case, Hiei dodged this attack in the very first arc of the series. So again, given their insane progress and ranking up throughout the series, Yusuke would be well into the faster than light range at bare minimum. It's kind of impossible to get solid high ends for series that use power systems like this, but that should still give you a decent enough idea. However though, I don't think it's unfair to say that what I just attributed to Yusuke are benefits of the doubt. They kind of rely on Deathbattle looking at things in pretty generous ways, and there's a reason why I did it like that. Because look, Bleach is a pretty complex series, and for a while it was difficult for some people to interpret. There was a good amount of ambiguity that put a lot of scaling into question when put under heavy scrutiny. And I'm not here to say what Deathbattle should or should not have done in the past, even though I know a lot of people will. What I am here to say though is that in a world where Thousand Year Blood War has come out, some of the higher scaling is kind of just not up for debate anymore. Yes, the highest that we've seen Deathbattle scale a Bleach character's power is less than what they attributed to Yusuke and Yomi's clash. But even just looking at Thousand Year Blood War alone, Gremmy, who can will basically whatever he wants into reality, such as a galaxy at least, literally ripped himself apart after trying to will himself to command a stronger level of power than Kenpachi, whom Ichigo is far stronger stronger than at this point. Speculatively, he's approaching the Soul King. There's also Senjumaru, who shook all 3 realms at once without even her full power, and even if these are all just planet-sized and not full universes, being able to affect areas of space that are dimensionally separated from one another from a single point in space, I think is much different from just shaking 3 planets that are next to each other in a single dimension. And even without that, Ichigo's many power increases throughout the series and super form multipliers should put his max power above any reasonable extrapolation you can make for Yusuke and Yami's clash or Mazoku or anything like that. There's just no way that he hasn't grown way stronger than him. Now, as for Ichigo's speed, we're kind of in a similar situation to Yusuke actually, since he was able to dodge light speed attacks really early on, and he just kept getting better. But again, this is going off of the assumption that some spirit energy attacks in Yu Yu Hakusho, like Yusuke's spirit gun, are indeed light speed. And for all we know, Yusuke may have actually gotten faster by a greater degree under that interpretation in their base forms, but again, when applying Ichigo's super forms like Vasto Lorde, Dangai, True Bankai, and much more, I think that more than tips the edge to him. Now, obviously, stats aren't everything, especially if the weaker combatant has any abilities or passive traits that directly influence those comparisons. Unfortunately, Yusuke doesn't really seem to have enough of that for this. The trickiest thing of note for Yusuke is his ability to exist as just a soul, but Ichigo's whole thing is interacting with normally intangible beings. Yusuke's possession sounds handy, but Ichigo's resisted similar mental takeover at least 1 or 2 times before, and Yusuke's regen, while able to help him out mid-battle, is kind of still just outdone by Ichigo's own, at least in some forms. Yusuke's got some other signature techniques, including ways to manifest his own spirit energy, but nothing really hacksy enough to steer the conversation elsewhere. To be fair, a lot of Ichigo's techniques are also relatively simple manifestations of his spirit energy, with some obvious exceptions, but the difference is that they're coming from a much bigger pool and tagging characters that are likely much faster than Yusuke. And hell, Ichigo's Raryoku can sometimes nullify spiritual attacks or abilities that are way weaker than his own. I feel like this realistically qualifies, but is also, realistically, not needed. Stamina is a little trickier because Yusuke was able to fight for 2.5 days straight, and I don't think we've seen Ichigo explicitly go that long. He did spend 80 days training in the Dangai, but that likely wasn't continuous combat. But either way, this battle is not coming down to a war of attrition, considering these discrepancies. So while this video definitely isn't an exhaustive list of everything these characters can do or every way Deathbattle could possibly interpret things, I think it's pretty clear what's most likely to come out of all of this. Yes, it would run pretty contrary to how Deathbattle has done some things before, especially when combining Naruto versus Ichigo and Sasuke versus Hiei, but I don't think it's impossible for Deathbattle to change their opinions on stuff like that if they later genuinely believe that there are better ways to do it. And again, now that we have 1000-Year Blood War, I think it's pretty much impossible to even play devil's advocate for Yusuke as far as a power comparison, probably for speed as well, and he just doesn't have the abilities needed to counter or offset those gaps. And while I think this fight idea is worth doing in the sense of it being one of the most historical fight ideas in the anime space, the Bleach series has gotten so ridiculous compared to Yu Yu Hakusho that the debate itself is no longer on par with that status. Whether or not that matters to you is really your decision. So, unless I'm really missing something, unless there's something hidden that completely flips everything around, I think I gotta place my bets on Ichigo Kurosaki. But of course, these are all just my opinions. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. But either way, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out.